And welcome back to ScavTalk, everyone. In today's impromptu middle of the week ScavTalk podcast, we're going to be discussing, catching you all up on the recent events in Tarkov land, also the Chronicles of Rigi, latest episode released, and just sort of our miscellaneous happenings and what's been going on. So, yeah, on that topic, what are you
Yes,
about to?
it's a bit of a random one because I was away all of last week. That's why we didn't record on Friday because I was not here. And basically, I was here Friday night, like just in case something crazy had happened, but like hadn't played all week and nothing really happened. I think like literally as ScavTalk would normally have begun,
Yeah.
an event started, and like I posted just like, yeah, we're gonna do it a few days later, and someone was just like, but what about the news on this? I was like, dude, like the news for that dropped like literally 5 minutes before the cast. Like you gotta let it cook. You can't just like we just like hop on for 5 minutes and be like, an event started, right? See you, bye.
Yeah.
Which is just I just thought it was just funny. So anyway, so like yeah, because me and Church have both kind of had like offsetting schedules a little bit. So last week I'm busy, and then this sort of like coming weekend, like you're busy, right? So we've ended up doing this like leapfrogging thing of doing 2 episodes over 3 weeks. Rather than the Friday, we've gone to the Wednesday, and then we'll do like next Friday again. So we'll, we've got like a slightly longer gap, but it kind of works out, and there's not a huge amount of stuff happening right now, so that's kind of okay, and it works with like our schedules too. But yeah, no, been away on holes. It's all right. Been catching up the last 2 days. We had a nice time out on the Welsh coast, which is fantastic with little ones. Going to take them to the beach for the first time and all that kind of stuff, which is good.
Sweet.
A lot of driving. So I had a wedding at the weekend as well. So like I drove. I mean, for the guys in the States, it doesn't feel like a lot, but like 3 hours in the UK is a big deal because the country's just not that big. So I drove like 3 hours Saturday, 3 hours back, then 3 hours on Monday morning down to where we were going. And then we were like driving all over the place. I was just like, I'm kind of fed up of driving now, but it was good fun. It was good fun. And today, on a completely different note, I have an exciting purchase. As a British person, I have my very first portable air conditioning unit arriving.
Oh, cool.
Because last summer it was unbearable, especially for the little ones, trying to get them to go to sleep when it was like, as soon as it went over 30, it was really bad because obviously our houses are like unair conditioned, right? And so they're designed for, 3 degrees in the winter. When it gets over 30, it's just like so hot. And it just never cools down. I think that's the issue. You can survive for like 2 or 3 days, and the temperature inside just goes up and up and up, and eventually the whole house is just hot. So it gets up to 27, 28 degrees in the day, and then it just it drops 1 degree overnight, and then just stays there for the next day, and it's just everyone's sweaty and it's awful. But I realized I can use it in here as well in my stream room, because last year when we had the proper heat wave, my computer was freaking dying, dude, and I was just like drenched with sweat because like I have the door closed as well to like keep the noise out and stuff. But I'm like, I have one like tiny window, but like there's no airflow or anything. So, and the PC's there like
just, right, like, fanning out to it.
It's just like so bad, right? So bad. So that's actually gonna be great. I can like drag it down to do the stream, and then drag it upstairs to cool the rooms. Like this is gonna be perfect. I think things may only get worse as time goes on on that front. So we'll see. It's just been it's been hot recently, so that's great. So Tarkov land. What has happened? Oh yes. So I guess like in the terms of the ordering of stuff, I presume you saw the Chronicles of Rigi. I saw it actually, and then forgot to watch it for ages, and then ended up like watching it on Monday, I think. Which is this one is which one? It's season 2, episode 3.
Yeah,
which is kind of cool. If anyone hasn't gone and watched it yet, then should go and watch it, because the Chronicles of Rigi are pretty fun. They're sort of like they're a bit like the Raid series, right? But shorter. And well, I think the production value is still pretty decent.
I don't know why, but for this one, I felt really like disengaged. That could just be because I haven't been playing Tarkov for a while. But I was kind of just like, I didn't really know who the character. Like the only character I really knew was Rigi. That was it. Like, because I'm pretty sure that was Rigi, but I basically had no idea what was going on. All I remember was they were cutting potatoes and there was a breakout, and then they met someone. Oh god, I'm spoiling. Spoilers. Yes,
go watch it if you don't want it spoiled. But yeah, I mean, mainly, I don't really think that the Rigi stuff mattered too much. Basically, they were trying to do a breakout, right? Because like Rigi's trapped in the arena with the other dudes from the arena thing, and he's with that guy who I think he's like a is he like former PMC or he's like traitor or something? I'm not sure. The nice
no
guy calls
idea.
him Merc. The guy with the beard, he calls him Merc. I don't know whether he's like quoted as that being his name anywhere or anything. For me, just watching that one, I was like, I don't actually know this dude's name. But yeah, nice guy on his video was calling him Merc. So
like, was
okay, we'll
was he somewhere prior? The guy with the beard, or is he a new character?
It seemed. I think he might have been in one of the other ones. I didn't watch the others for a little bit, so I can't really remember. But I think he was in one of the previous ones from the arena vids with Rigi, I believe. But I think his backstory is that he's like, PMC got trapped, something like that. But he ended up getting fought and gone to the arena. Maybe he fought in the arena as like mercenary or something. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
But either which way, they're trying to escape, right? And the long and the short of it is they escape and they get chased by these dudes from the arena who are like, I guess the enforcers or whatever, who have been called the Bloodhounds, which then leads into the event itself. Now, I think like some of the more interesting lore stuff is about the other scenes because it kind of cuts between Rigi and the grouping of the bosses who are having some kind of party. And I think that section with the bosses is more interesting from a few different angles because it's like, there's a couple of guys that you can recognize. Like you can easily recognize Sanitar and Ragman just like sat around the table. And there's some of the guys that are actually named there. And then Gluhar's there as well, I think, right? And then
was there a new character or was like, because there was like one character that looked like he was wearing a lot of like heavy armor, like almost like a bomb suit. And
so he's like a police guy. I don't think we've seen him before.
Okay, because I wasn't sure if that was Gluhar or what. I was like kind of confused.
No, because Gluhar does actually kind of look like Gluhar, but because we've seen him in the previous one. No, he's a different guy. So there's the policeman who sat down. He's like cutting the apple with the knife thing, and then he's waiting for someone else to turn up, who comes in through the door. Who's the other big guy wearing like the rig?
Okay.
And they kind of like greet each other. Now, he says that he's like. They greet each other as like brother, which I was like, that could just be, hey bro,
right.
It's like not necessarily.
Then I was like, oh, is this Tagilla and Killa? Like I was really confused once he said brother.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not sure if that's necessarily actually brother, but I think he does mention it a couple of times when I kind of watched it back and watched Nice Guys 1. Is like they do say a few times that those two guys probably are actually brothers as opposed to just like being friends. And I think the deal is they were waiting, and we're not. I don't think we're 100% sure about the police guy exactly who he is. But the dude who comes in through the door is referred to as, we're waiting for Caban. So he's actually named specifically, being Caban. And Caban it's interesting. He's mentioned, so what's he say? In the subtitles on the thing, because this is why I had to write these notes down, because it's a bit like, there's a few little pieces to it. In the subtitles, you read that they say like, oh, where have you been? Like, what took you so long or whatever. When he gets asked by the cop guy and he's like, oh, remove the batteries, change the spark plugs again, that kind of thing. So maybe that means he's the car dealership boss.
Okay.
Nice guy was like, okay, he's got like the big pouches, which is for the drum mags kind of thing. So he may be like the PKM car dealership boss on that point. And then interestingly, there's another quest. I was looking through some of the comments just to see what people had said, and because people like pick up on like random things. And there's a Peacekeeper quest called Road Closed. If you finish Spartor Part 7, there's another quest on the streets called Road Closed. And so if you're USEC PMC, you can do that one, and it's where you have to like go to the crashed convoy outside the car dealership, and when you finish that, Peacekeeper says, the cargo is in place, that's reassuring. If the attack was from the car dealership, then it wasn't the bears, so it's Caban again. Thank you for your work. And so I'm pretty sure that the big guy with the rig on is the car dealership boss. Like I'm pretty sure, because he's just like named in a few places and specifically named in the series. The police guy, though, it's not 100% certain who he is. I think he is probably the person named Kollontai, who is discussed between Rigi and this Merc dude. And they say, it's Kollontai. Yeah, exactly. And Rigi's like, oh, I don't know who he is. And Merc says, yeah, no, he's a cop or something. but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's him. Like Kollontai isn't mentioned, like his name isn't spoken, I don't think, in the group meeting. So it's like it's coincidental, sort of incidental evidence, as opposed to like it being like cut and dried. I think it's cut and dried that Caban's the dealership boss and that's his name. Whereas I just think Kollontai probably is the other one because it says, one of Tarkov's big shots or whatever, right? And he's like at the big shot meeting, so that probably is him. So he's some kind of like police person. There's another guy as well at the table who I don't know who he is. He's got beanie hat on, and he's like kind of at the end, and he's the one who one of the, I guess, underlings of some kind comes in and speaks to him and says, there's a problem, which is Rigi's prison break or whatever with the other guy. And what's interesting about that then is that whoever he is the person who's running Arena, because he's kind of in control of the Bloodhounds, right? Because they're like updating him on something that's happened on the breakout of Arena. But I don't actually know who he is. Like at first glance, I thought maybe he was Lightkeeper, but I'm not really sure. Like it's not obvious who that guy is. It could be somebody completely different. I mean, also the people, as you said, like the people don't look like they make the best of it that they can, but they don't necessarily look like one-to-one. So maybe that the artwork of Lightkeeper maybe doesn't look exactly like the guy, or it could be like Rigi's dad or somebody. I don't think it's the same person, but it's a bit random. I'm not sure who he is. I was trying to think, but I don't think anybody's come up with anything particular. Not that I saw anyway. Anyone's come out with any particularly strong theories as to who that is. So like maybe it's another Streets boss. I think there was going to be 3, right? So could be one of the other bosses, could be just somebody else, could be some representative of Fence. Like who knows? I've no idea. I really don't know. Was there anything else? Oh yeah, I guess the only other piece of kind of like lore, like background lore or whatever to do with that the episode was that it does appear that between the conversation with Rigi and the guy that like Ragman is dating that blue-haired doctor, who we know is Therapist's friend. So there's some kind of linkage there. And then yes, spoiler alert again, I guess like at the end they actually finally meet up with Jaeger. So Rigi's now kind of in the hands of like the friendly traders, because I think Jaeger's probably one of the most like, on the D&D grid, he's like, the lawful good or whatever.
Yeah, probably.
He's got like, there seems to have the least shady kind of interlinks between the different traders, because like both him and Therapist sort of actually vie for your attention within the quest system because of killing Sanatar. Like Therapist doesn't want you to do it, and Jaeger does want you to do it, and Sanatar's like quite clearly an evil dude with Terror Group connections and stuff. So I think like Jaeger's pretty firmly on the side of good, if you could even call it that, whatever that counts for in the Tarkov land, like non-Terror Group affiliation at least. Fighting kind of for the land and for the people or whatever. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes, because Rigi's not really been within that realm until now, and they did a good job actually with Jaeger. I thought it looked really cool a bit at the end of the show with him sat by the fire. It looked exactly like the artwork. I was like, that's sick. That's actually
the doggo sick. And everything as well.
Exactly. It was cool. So I quite like that. I enjoyed that little piece of lore there. I enjoyed the action from the Rigi bit, but I think that the lore from the bosses section was good. And there was some comment about the losers being missing from the party or something. Because Ragman is not Ragman, sorry. Shala is there, Gluhar, these two guys, and Sanatar. So the dudes that are missing is basically like Killer to Giller, because they're nuts. Like you probably don't want them in the party. They'll just get drunk and shoot everybody. Or and also Sturman. Interestingly enough. And the Goons, but they're kind of a completely different affiliation.
We haven't really seen any Sturman action.
No. Which sort of makes sense, I guess. He's like, loner in the woods. Imagine Jaeger by day, Sturman by night. No, I don't know.
Dude, that would be a cool twist. That would be cool, actually.
But so I don't know what that means, really. We know that the Killer to Giller, brothers, they do fight in the arena because we saw them shooting up everybody. They get like let loose, whatever. But they're both nuts. So they're kind of like the wild dogs of, I don't know what it's like, like Game of Thrones or whatever. They're like, Gregor Clegane and those kind of like, they're sort of the fighters, but they're not really politicians or like string pullers. They're just bloodthirsty kind of killers. They're which is useful, but
chaotic evil or whatever it would be on the
Yeah, exactly. So maybe there's something to that as well. Are there any other bosses that I'm missing out from there? Like Glukhar, Sanitar, Rashala, these two new dudes, then Sturm and Kill and Tagil are not there. I think that's everybody, isn't it?
I think so.
I think that's right. I'm just like running through the maps in my head.
I mean, do we count the lighthouse trader? I don't even know if he's got a name.
What? Yeah. What? You mean the trader or the sniper? You mean
the trader? Yeah.
Well,
I'm sorry. I meant the sniper. Yeah.
Yeah, Zerachi. I guess he's like pinned to Likey, but I do wonder if the B-Need guy is supposed to be Likey, but I'm not sure. That was my gut instinct, and then I started questioning it afterwards. Because otherwise we don't know who he is, and it doesn't really give you much a hint other than like he's the arena man.
Mm-hmm.
Not really sure. Yeah. Was there anything else from the actual episode that you spotted? Or anything like that. I mean, I like watched it, and then I watched Nice Guy's video, and then I read a bunch of people's like comments and stuff, just like trying to gather as much info from like what people had seen. That was everything that I took out of it for the time being. But it's not the final one because I think they usually say to be continued, next season, So we should be having another one at least, another episode, which would be cool because we will be hopefully get to see like the Jaeger interaction, what he has to say to Rigi once he's now in the traders that we know. We'll have to see how that finishes up. So the spillover then into the game, I actually like the way that this worked. This was actually quite good. And because literally nobody really spoke about that interaction, probably means that VSG have done a good job, right? The Bloodhounds event leads directly from this. They're on the hunt looking for Rigi, and you get a quest from Jaeger. Very, very sensible because he's the one who's kind of taken them in.
Yeah.
And I can't remember exactly what it says even. Maybe I'll try and go and bring it up because it is still in the game at the moment. But basically, these bloodhounds started spawning on customs, on shoreline, and on woods, all 100% spawn rate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't playing when this event was active, and yeah, on Monday I was like busy doing lightkeeper stuff, so I didn't actually go and fight them specifically. But they were on all those 3 maps, and there was a quest that appeared, which basically you had to kill 30 bloodhounds. Now, what it didn't make obvious when you were first playing, there was 2 parts to this. There was a bug to start with, so when you failed the quest, or when you died, the quest was disappearing completely. And I think you had to like reset your client or something, which is like really annoying. But that was a bug, and they ended up fixing that.
Oh, okay.
Because what was supposed to happen is when you died, your progress was going to reset. So you had to kill all the 30 bloodhounds without dying. So you could do it on as many raids as you like, but you have to do it without dying to get all 30. So to actually complete that quest was really the realm of the top players, right? Like to go in and kill 30 of them is hard, right? I think they only spawn in groups of 5 or something. So you basically had to play 6 raids minimum, be there first, kill them all, and not die to anyone else, right? In a PvP event. And there's there's a handful of people who did it. All the guys that you would imagine. I don't think anybody else was able to, but if you did, then you managed to unlock 762 by 39 BP from level 1 skier, I think. A little bit like the last quest reward that it was PvP from level 1 skiers. So you got access to an ammo that normally is craft only, and then it's this time it was 762 BP, and I can't remember how much you got. Maybe it was like 100 or something. I'm not sure exactly how much you could buy per reset, but given it's for a handful of the player base, it doesn't really matter. It's not going to like break the game or anything. But it's interesting to give these timed quests such a good reward in some ways. It's kind of interesting for those guys who actually want to do it, and it's like a really, really powerful reward for a really, really difficult quest that like hardly anyone will complete. And I did see some people complaining like, oh, it's just like, it sucks because like, basically no one can complete it. Like, I don't think it really matters. Like whether you complete the quest or not. Like the fun is like going to fight them. Like it's a new AI. They're kind of halfway between scavs and raiders. It's something a little bit different. It drives PvP. Like I think that's more the point than my 762 BP for free, or like freely available on traders. I don't think that matters so much.
I mean, the worst, if it does buy you that much, don't worry. You probably only have a couple of weeks to put up with it before it all goes away. So I wouldn't sweat it too much. Like it's not like the Christmas gift of patch. What was that? 13-0, was that 12? No, that was 12-12. I think it's 12-12.
It might have even been earlier than that. I can't remember. Maybe it was 12-12 itself.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, the one that I like remembered about it because I found a
so
random clip just like, what was it? Like how much was it in the end? I can't remember. Is it 900 BP?
I think it was in the 900. Yeah, somewhere.
Because I remember
it might
reading
even been triple
it was 90
or quadruple digits.
I think it was 900 because I remember reading it and thinking like, surely they've typed it in. It's like 90 BP rounds, but then no, it's like
surely
like 900. Yeah, so it's nothing like that, right? And it won't unbalance the economy, which means, again, it's not like a precursor to wipe per se. It's like we're on the stepping stones towards that path, but it's not like free BP for everybody because you only have to kill 3 of them and then unlock it, you know? It's like it's a different thing.
And I think the difficulty warrants the reward, you know what I mean? Like, it's extremely difficult, but I think the reward's very valuable. Like, so I think it's worth doing.
I think it's a cool reward in some ways because it's kind of like it's rewarding the guys who have put in the time to get to that skill level, put in the time to actually just get the quest completed because like it's freaking hard, and then it's to reward you with something that you can get. It's not like it's something impossible, right? It's not like it suddenly allows you to buy Alton helmets from the traders or whatever. It's like something that you can get, but you're bypassing the time restrictions.
Right.
Doing the thing, you know. So it's like I kind of don't mind, and it's like it's towards the end of the wipes. It doesn't really matter. Like most people are still using BP anyway. You just have to craft and maybe stack or whatever to make it work. It's just like it's almost a quality of life thing at this point, because you know if you can just get BP from the traders, people will just beeline towards that quest and get it. Whereas if you open up a really hard quest like 5 months into the wipe, it wasn't available before. Everyone has access to BP now because you can craft it in the workbench. And now they're saying, okay, now you're able to do this. It's almost like, it's like the timed release of stuff. It's one instance of it, but it's like the timed release through the wipe that people have talked about previously, like unlock all level 4 traders, 4 months in or something along those lines. It's literally like the tiniest segment of that, but it shows how the idea could work because people are already at that level. And now it's a quality of life thing as opposed to like a progression jump skip kind of thing. People are already able to get BP in other fashions. It just makes it a bit easier to get it for those people who grind and make it work. One big downside is that it does seem like, whether it's because there was lots of high-profile people playing or some people getting targeted, I'm not sure, but it does seem like the cheating issues raised its head quite badly on this event from what I've seen anecdotally. Now, as I said, I didn't play it particularly myself, and whether I'd be able to tell or not, as usual, I find it very hard to know whether I'm getting cheated on or not generally, so it's tough. But I did see reports of like Landmark getting to very, very, very close and then getting like stream snipe hacked on to like prevent him from doing it, which is like, it's a particular issue for streamers, right? If you're
especially for him.
If you're you're the biggest guy on Twitch in the category and you're signposting your progression on an extremely difficult task and you get quite close to the end, like it just takes one person to want to troll you. To come and reset all of that and to snipe into your game or whatever and just like get lucky, end up in your game and blah blah blah, which is like super unfortunate. So that does suck, but I don't think we should let that take away from the event and the fact that it was good. And actually one other thing about it that I think is awesome is that they have actually left the quest so you can go and complete it now. They haven't just shut the event off and said it's done and that's it. Yeah, so they've now said, right, it's at they're not spawning every raid, they're spawning at a 30% rate, these Bloodhounds, rather than 100%, and you can still go on and complete the quest. And now when you die, it doesn't reset. So you don't have to kill all 30 in one go now that the event is over.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so now you can complete it over time.
Oh, that's surprising.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if that's... if the wipe does last quite some time, I might have a different opinion. But...
Maybe. We'll have to see. But I still think it will take people a while because you have to kill 30, but they just don't... They only spawn every third raid or something. Like, maybe you could clean through it much more quickly now, probably, because obviously...
Is it only on customs are spawning now? I forget how that works.
Spawning where they were. So, customs, shoreline, and woods. I wasn't 100% of all the areas, so... Logical, because I wasn't in the full flow while the event was happening because I was like away.
Oh, it is the same locations.
But I think it's the same locations. Like where they were on customs and still are, presumably, is new gas station, the factory area, which is around like the power switch in Warehouse 14, and then Fortress. Shoreline, it seems to be the power, like the power plant bit, gas station, the weather station, and then I'm not sure on the other ones. I think it was maybe the bus station and in the village or something. But it's Battle State's like areas that were data mined by logical solutions are very cryptic and not very helpful. Like on Customs, one of the locations is called Crossroads, right? Crossroads is an actual extract on the publicly facing Tarkov. But what they mean by Crossroads is the factory bit, like the courtyard, apparently. So like their internal metrics for like areas, how they've subdivided the map up, like don't necessarily correspond to anything sensible. It's like with it's like with the ones on Shoreline or whatever. Like I've got the list here, and Shoreline locations, it says like zone, start village, gas station. So gas station, obvious. Forest gas station. Does that mean the bus station? I mean, maybe. Zone power station, zone meteo station. So those ones are obvious, but like start village is like which village? The sunken village bit, like, or the bit with the tank,
right.
Probably the part with the tank. But you have to kind of guess, right? And then it's like on Woods, it's even less obvious. Like mini house on Woods, like Clearville Road, Brokenville, Scav Base 2. I don't know, man. So it's probably I think one of them was the bunker extract bit, not where the goons used to spawn. I think Scav bunker. I think that's one of them on Woods. Woods I'm much less clear on because I didn't play and I didn't ask anybody actually. But it's probably like down in the swamp village, up on the Scav bunker, and then like a couple of other places I would imagine, but I'm not 100% certain. But yeah, they're still there at 30% spawn rate, which is kind of cool, and you can still complete them. This is actually very similar to the other quest, the one before, the one called Hint, which was the one where you had to kill all the bosses, a bunch of cultists, a bunch of raiders, and then you got PvP. That one is also still active as well, so you can complete that quest too. It's just the bosses have gone back to their normal spawn rates, so it's much harder. But I like the fact they left it in. You know, it's giving some people things to do. If you're not like a turbo Chad and like finish the event in like 3 hours, like someone like Glorious or whatever, who just like burned through the event in one stream and just killed all the bosses and did all the stuff. It's giving some people who take a bit longer, people like me, something to do at the end of the wipe that's like not Kappa, that's not Lightkeeper and all that kind of stuff.
How much can you buy of the PvP ammo? 9mm.
I am not sure. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and open the game and see, because I actually don't know if it tells you. I wonder if you could just like look the ammo up. And then
you might be able to. Might be a good workaround.
Because you might be able to look the ammo up on the flea, and it should be the only one. But although sometimes it says locked by quest and doesn't actually tell you if it's not like level locked. I think it shows up differently. But we could check. Oh yeah, or maybe on the wiki actually. That's a good idea. PvP Tarkov. Let's have a quick look. So 9mm PvP. It just says sold by Skier 1 after completing his task hint. It doesn't actually say how many. That's on the wiki. I'll open up the game and we can see. But either which way, I think it's cool. I think the event's been cool. I mean, like as I said, I didn't really get to play it, but it's all right in
still
principle.
can.
I think it's fine. You still can. You can still go and do it. Like I went to go look for them yesterday and like played some customs, got into some just like fun fights. And as I said, I ended up running into. It was super weird, man. Like we had this like weird like PvP encounter. Got shot up by a bunch of guys. Ended up disengaging. I was like really out of position and playing against two people. One guy was high, one guy was low. I was like, oh my god, like I'm actually just like super outgunned, super outpositioned. This just sucks. So I was just like sprinting away, trying not to die as best as I could. And this was in like there was one dude up on the skeleton building in the construction area. I was kind of over more towards like the pocket watch truck, and they were firing at me from that way. So I just like ran through the pocket watch truck area, like back towards the bridge, jumped the wall, and went all the way around and to see if I could see them because they were still like shooting at scouts and stuff. But like I never got another view on them, so I thought fine, we'll just extract. But I had to go back across to the factory area to go and extract out of that little bunker one, which is where I had headed. And I was like, we'll just loot some stashes and just leave the map. Get all the way around to the scav checkpoint with the sniper dude, and then get like shot at with like really accurate fire. I was like, oh, is this these guys, or is this? I was like, this is like the wrong place. Like they shouldn't be here. And then turns out it's like Rashala and his whole crew. And I killed 3 of them. But because I was like just like not in the right place, right? I was like pinned behind one of those metal containers, and I had one coming left, one coming right. Like killed one, killed another, killed the next one, tried to get the one on the left. Another one came over the hill and like shot me in the back. I was like, damn. Like what are the chances of meeting Resh over there? Like with his 5 dudes. I was like, this is super weird. I think they must have been they must have been like aggro pulled from gas station or something. It was like really odd. I've never ever seen them there. I was not expecting it too, so I was like kind of surprised. I didn't really know what was going on. I thought maybe it was the Bloodhounds, but I wasn't sure. Yeah, it was super weird. So I ended up dying there, which was a bit unfortunate. Okay, I got the game. I'm gonna go and have a look at the quest while we're here.
Doing that, let me read the Bloodhounds quest. Going back to the lore thing. This is what Jaeger says. I have serious work for you, something very dangerous, but I'll make it worth your while. The owner of a well-known arena in the region let out his hounds looking for 2 fugitives from the cleanup crew. One of them is a former PMC, my old trusted friend. The other one is a Scav, Rigi. The kid's name is famous now. They'll know a lot and are generally for the good cause. That is why they mustn't be captured. We must calm these arena men down, but be careful. They're more dangerous than regular bandits. Can you handle it? So it's interesting. He says the former PMC is his good trusted friend. And he also says they're generally for the good cause. Team good guys.
Yeah, exactly. Team good guys. So, Skier sells PvP in 150 if you complete the quest. You can see it on the flea market. So 150 is pretty good, given you can get it every reset.
That's actually really nice. I think that quest's more valuable than the BP, honestly.
Really? And then BP, you can get it in 180 from Jaeger.
Yeah, but you can. The thing is, you can get. I guess you can get PvP crafting.
You can get it. Yeah.
How much do you get though?
From the craft?
You don't look it up. I guess it's fine. It's fine.
It's more, I think.
I guess now I think about it, BP's probably the better one. I was still thinking the old days where you like the craft was never worth doing. Like it was just
because you could just
expensive.
You just buy the BP, so there's no point doing the craft back in the day. But yeah, it's 1,100 now.
I mean, like the old PvP craft was like
the old PvP one, yeah.
It was just like super ridiculously overpriced.
It was because
you had to do the APC 6.3 into you had to craft that and then craft. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
It was ridiculous, yeah. So PvP is purchasable after completing Hint for 700 rubles around. AP is 1,100 rubles for completing whatever this one was called. I can't remember now.
I mean, they're both pretty nice, honestly. Like, I mean,
yeah, Bloodhounds. It was just called Bloodhounds. Okay. So yeah, maybe that's worth doing. Like trying to do that. Like maybe I will go ahead and do that. I don't know. That might be like the next thing I try and go to do. Could be interesting. We will have to see how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, just a few like with the cheating thing. I would say like since when it first came out, they basically had a huge incentive for people to play 3 maps out of what are we at 7 or 8 now? Yeah, I don't know. So there's like, I feel like you probably there's more likelihood you're gonna run into, and probably returning players as well. So I feel like you're kind of more likely to see cheaters in that sense. And with the spawn zones, I've looked at them a little bit, like with Tarkov SP, because like you basically can't really. With some mods, you can like technically add more spawns, but to the pre-existing zones, so you can't really just like without modifying the map, you can't just add like a new zone. Is kind of my understanding. So I was curious if there was any new zones in here. I'm not familiar enough with all the definitions, but like the only one I really remotely have looked at was like customs, and even then it was like I don't recognize any of this. Yeah. This could have been here prior. Yeah. But that was just an interesting thought if they added more zones, which it's based off what you said, it sounded like they didn't. You know, there wasn't like any new spawns, it was like pre-existing stuff, which I thought would have been kind of cool if they added like, you know, some random rock on shoreline, you know, some random hill. It's like a new spawn, and then that just like stays in the game, and then now scavs could spawn there, because that'd be kind of cool. mix things up. Yeah.
I guess it's easier to just like add them to the existing like locations they've had specified previously for other things, either like boss spawns or whatever it is, you know.
Yeah.
Probably why they spawn in those places.
So I imagine you would have to patch for, if my understanding is correct, you have to patch that because you need an actual update of the local files to add the new zone.
Yeah, I don't know. So so you're saying that you can't just like mod yourself to spawn on top of gas station, you know? Like,
I don't
new
think
spawn
so,
location.
no. Yeah, you just can't.
Like delving deep.
Yeah.
Shame. It's a shame.
Not with the I mean, you might. I don't know. I really don't know. I haven't looked at stuff like that too deep because there is like Unity, Unity plugin, that's for modding that you can do a lot. You know, more advanced stuff. I don't know if you could do anything with that, but any hoots. Oh yeah.
So
I just remembered. I had a Tarkov dream. Okay.
No way.
Yeah. So basically, it was me and Nikita, right? And he had me tied up. No, I'm kidding. No, so I was funny enough. I was watching your stream in my dream, while also playing Tarkov, and I was in Big Red, and there was like crawling noises going on. And so, because you were, funny enough, you were playing with someone else. It was like, it was as if you were like playing with a new player or something. But anyways, so I had to like turn off your stream so I could determine if the sound was, my game or your game. And then all of a sudden, explosion starts going off, like insane loud volume explosion. So now I can't hear anything at all, right? But I'm like upstairs in the Big Red building, the office, and then all of a sudden like bosses start rushing me, and it was just like at one point it was one of them was like the one of the GL, the big pipe, but it was like distorted because it had like Knight's mask on, but he had the GL. And then there was like new bosses, and one of them was like a chick with like a blue hoodie and like tan or some type of like khakis, but she was like jumping with like a pistol. That was like how I had to fight the boss. And throughout this whole time, explosions are still going off, and like the last boss was like some weird Tagilla, scuffed version. Like it was just weird. He ended up like hitting his hammer inside a water barrel that got stuck, and water came out. It was just it's a dream. But I can't remember. Oh yeah, because then the explosion stopped, and it was like the thing was over. Like it was as if like that was an event. Like the building was getting bombarded, and bosses were like rushing me to my location. And then I was like, okay, time to loot. And then another PMC walks in, and I'm like, no, please, dear God, please. And they're like, oh, fine, I won't kill you. And then I woke up and I realized, oh, that was definitely a dream because that would never happen in Tarkov.
Dude, that's wild.
Yeah, that was my weird Tarkov dream.
Have you ever had a Tarkov dream before when you were actually playing?
I'm sure I have, but
that you remember.
Yeah, that one I remember because it was like when I was waking up, like I was still like actively thinking about it, And
that's weird.
Because then it kind of made me think. I was like, well, what if that was like an actual event? Like, because there's kind of like two things. Like one, in the Cycle Frontier how it storms, and then that's how they like. I was like, well, what if they did something similar? Like, instead, like artillery, like a siren goes off, and it's like artillery strikes, so force everyone inside, and then they can like respawn stuff when the strikes are going on. Kind of have like that Cycle Frontier thing where the server stays open for like 8 hours, and that's how they respawn loot and respawn stuff. But and I just thought it'd be really cool to have like a boss rush thing. And like the other thing I was wondering is like, what if because I think in my dream I was wondering, amidst the explosions before the boss rush started happening, I was wondering if someone called in an airstrike to me. Because there's a mod where you can like call in or you some laser decks in the air and call in an airstrike. So I think that was like kind of playing into it. But then it transmorphed into the weird boss rushing event where you couldn't hear anything and bosses were just rushing you, trying to kill you. It's great. Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
That's really nuts. It's funny though. You say, player, you say, "Oh no, don't kill me," and they said, "Oh fine, I won't," whatever. Like I actually had my like I had like a really amazing interaction.
Mhm.
And you probably saw some of it because I was playing.
I think so.
Monday and Tuesday, trying to complete this Lightkeeper thing. It seems like a good point to tell this story. So I've been stuck. Like before I went away, I got stuck, and I thought I completed previously, honestly, but then I just didn't because my RNG is like atrocious in this game. But the very final quest that you have to complete before meeting the Lightkeeper is called Getting Acquainted. And what you have to do is you have to go and find, at some point, you have to go and find the transmitter body thing, and you go and test it, and it doesn't work, and you hand it back to Lightkeeper, and he says, not Lightkeeper, sorry, Mechanic. And he says, oh, okay, it didn't work because it's not encoded with this thing. You need to go and find the data to do the encoding, and then you're going to flash it yourself inside the hideout. It's like, all right, so then you have to go and find the flash drive version 3, which is a quest item. So it goes in your quest slot. It's not a real item. It only appears for you, much like the Golden Pocket Watch and those other items. And it spawns in one of 20 different locations, all in the water treatment plants. There's 4 of them in building 1, 4 in building 2, 4 in building 3, something along those lines. And then the other 12 are like out at like random points in the middle of the water treatment facility, right?
Yeah.
So this makes this quest quite annoying. Like it appears in a random place. So you can, in theory, do something like you can rush across if you get the right spawn, you can like rush across the bridge. You can jump in through the like window room on warehouse 3, like the one on the most east side. You can check like the 3 spots inside and then leave. And you can do that like 20 times or whatever and hope that you get it and that it spawns in one of the 3. I went the other way and tried to do as many as I could because I also kind of wanted to learn the rogue camp again a bit because I used to know how to do it, but using the rocks up on the east. But since they added all the claymores in this patch, I never relearned it. And so I was like, oh, I've got to actually like figure out how to do this. And it's been, it's one of those things, you go and try and learn it. I find like learning the rogues probably one of the least engaging things in this game. I don't really like just learning the route and like doing the pattern. I feel like I'm playing like offline, like a terrible version of offline Metal Gear Solid or something, but with other players there who aren't playing the same game as me, who are just shooting at me as well. It's just like I don't like it very much. So anyway, we did it, and as per chat's like recommendation, we ended up doing it a lot at night because it is a lot easier. Other players can't see you much, and it's the rogues have like much decreased like view ranges and stuff, so you just get shot a lot less. I ended up agreeing with everybody, but begrudgingly playing at night because I don't really like playing at night because it makes it very hard to do the sniping, and it's just like I don't like looking at just green, or even if you feather it, I just don't like looking at all one color. Just if I had to choose between playing Tarkov looking like 8-bit like Pokemon on a Game Boy screen or the way it normally does, I'd pick the way it normally does, right? So like night, it degrades my experience of the game. It's just a personal thing. So anyway, go and do this thing. I got incredibly unlucky. We did two runs where we searched half of the spots before I went away. It just wasn't in there. It was in one of the other ones for whatever reason. So after coming back, it was kind of funny. I was just like, fine. Well, we started off and we tried to get a snipe from the really big, like the stupid rock or the pride rock or whatever one you call it, to try and kill one of the gunners at the front from there. And it is doable, even though it's a bit tricky with the NVs on. I got shot by a guy with a VPO with APM while I was up there in the first raid. I was like, okay, interesting. Well, I guess I shouldn't go. I thought I'd be safe up there, but I was like, fine, I won't go up there again. Flash forward to another raid. We've managed to get in over the bridge. I think we killed both of the guys at the front. We're like running along the very front of the water treatment facility, just like trying to get a way in and figure out whether the guy on building 1 is dead yet. Get voiped by a PMC who's just over the other side of the wall, and he's just like, hey man, I'm just killing rogues. Just for loot and XP, whatever. Just like I'm just having fun. I'm just like, well, I have no interest in actually killing them. You can take all the loot if you want. Like, let's team up. I'm trying to find my drive. Like, it's good. If you know the road camp super well, maybe it'll be really useful if you can help me go through. So we team up. We like clear building 1, which is the westmost building. We clear that together. He like goes through and like kills some of the guys, and then it gets into. We managed to get across. He like. Takes the lead because he doesn't really care as much. He's like, I'll protect you. I'll just like go through first, and if I get shot at, then like you'll know not to go that way. So we go to building 2, the northernmost one. We clear part of that. I kill the guy on the outside. He tries to kill some of the other guys, but then he gets killed in one of the stairwell like doorways on the exit towards the building number 3 on the east side by another guy. And I was just like, is this him? He's like a random PMC just like dead on the floor. And I was like, this looks like him, but I'm not sure. Like, called out, like, dude, are you still alive or anything? It's like, no, he's dead. But like, now I've got his dog tags. Like, I know who he is. And when I pick up the dog tag, chat was just like, that's the VPO man that killed you on the Pride Rock. And you're like, oh, okay, that's super random. Anyway, so like, I go through, try to like find the last one, but I just basically ran out of time. I had like 5 minutes left or something, and I couldn't go and get the last 2 spots. We've checked 18 out of the 20. Did not find it in those 18. It was in one of the final 2, but like I couldn't get it. I couldn't get to the final 2 spots in time and leave, so it was pointless. Like run up to the car exit just to quickly check. It's not there. Run all the way to Northern Extract because of where I started. I didn't have Northern Extract, but I didn't check. So I ended up going MIA and having to throw all my stuff on the floor. So it was actually a good job that we didn't find the flash drive on that one.
Yeah, that would actually like
that would have killed me. But it was in one of those 2 final spots. It was kind of like bad RNG plus like maybe lucky because I would have died anyway. Flash forward to yesterday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Playing some more, like try and get in, like die a couple of times, like check a few spots. Like I did one where I think we checked half of them, like didn't find it. It's just like, oh man, this is so rough. Like just trying to get in and it's like getting killed by players and stuff. Like, man, this is so hard. Like get to halfway through the stream, play another raid, run over the bridge, try and kill some of the rogues, but like they don't seem to be there. I run along the front of the water facility. And then I like throw a grenade at one rogue because he actually got knocked off. The guy who's normally on the MG right at the front, he ran down. I didn't realize he was there, but he shot at me. So I throw a grenade at him, and he's like shouting. And then I hear a PMC VoIP. He's like, "Hey man," I'm like, "Hey dude," I'm like, "You aren't the guy I was playing with yesterday, right? Surely not." He's like, "Dude, is that you? Are you the guy from yesterday?" I was like, "Yeah, you're VPO guy, right? You died." He's like, "Yeah, man, it's me." Well, he's like, "Dude, well, we're in the same spot where we met in the first place. Like, what are the chances of that?" I'm like, "Man, I'm still trying to find my flash drive." He's like, "Have you killed that rogue?" I was like, "I don't think so." So he went around and killed him with the VPO. And then we were just like talking a bit about how we were going to go through and clear it. Man dies right in front of my very eyes. I was like, no, this is so bad. So I'm just like VoIP out to whoever, just like, I will avenge my brother. You killed my brother. I will avenge you. Eventually I go like, well, I don't know where this guy is. I don't want to die here. I still want to actually try and get as many spots as I can. So I run away and I clear warehouse 1, but I'm like still aware that there's somebody left. We took the dog tags. We knew that it was a PMC that had killed him. Go through like warehouse 1 and clear that and check the spots. Nothing there. Come out the other side, and then I hear the footsteps. I'm just like waiting, like super patient. The guy's like jumping up, sniping, da da da. I run out of arm stamina. I'm like, right, I'm gonna start breathing super heavy. So I just like push and rush the guy. I'm full auto with the scar, kill him, and just like pick up his tag. Like it's the dude who killed our friend. I'm just like, yes, it's like revenge. We managed to get revenge on the guy who killed the guy that we keep bumping into. It was nuts. It was so good. And I think I can't remember whether it was that one or another one, but we ended up running into like the goons as well. I finished the goons quest because I killed Bird Eye at point blank on one of the other raids, which is just like insane. And then finally went through and had one good run where the whole road camp ended up being cleared. Managed to kill all the rest. Checked every single spot, and finally the flash drive was on spot 19 out of 20 in that final run. Man, it was what a wild ride. What a wild ride. So taking that out, it's flashing. Well, I think it's probably finished now, but I'm going to take it out of the Int Center on Thursday when I do my actual stream and like show everybody because I'm going to do it like properly live. I want it to be recorded for everyone to be there. And, just for posterity or whatever. But like, oh my God, like what a quest. Like, what are the chances? Like, you never get that in Tarkov, or you meet the same PMC a few times and then you manage to get revenge on him as well. I was like, it actually worked quite well, all things said. But it's been crazy.
When I was watching it on the second, because I only saw the last encounter you had with him, and so I didn't have all the pre-existing context. And when you were like, "Oh, is that you?" and he was like, "Yeah, it's me. I thought, "Oh man, this guy's flying to Giga. He's trying to pull a quick one on Giga."
I recognized his accent because I think he sounded like French or something. Mm-hmm. And I was like, he's got the same accent as the guy yesterday, like for sure. And he's in the same place, like he's got the same gun and stuff. Like, I think this is our man. Just crazy. You just never see that. But I think it's partly because we're playing a very specific map at a very specific time. So we've been playing the night raids as well. And he was like, yeah, the raids are normally pretty dead. That's what we were talking about just before we got shot in the head, actually. And I do actually think that the Diablo 4 release has had a big impact on the player base, as you might imagine. Right, a ton of people have gone off to go and play it, and like you can see it on the flea market. There's just like one white tape on the flea, like random stuff like that. Like this is like super super low. So I would imagine the player base takes a massive dip in those periods as people play something else. It's just the way things are. But you can sort of see it on the flea, I think, anyway. So yeah, I guess the chances were more likely than any other way, with a low player base, playing the same servers, both being EU, and playing Night on Lighthouse, where normally you don't get that many people. It's like increase the chances of seeing the guy again. But like even still, we didn't. It was on 2 different days. Like we played as enemies, and I died. And he said actually, he was like, "Oh, by the way, I could see when you were lifting your NVGs up and down." He said you were really obvious. So I could just see the green light in the NVGs, just like flicking up and down when you're on that rock. It was really. You were just like a big beacon up there.
Does he not have NVGs?
I don't think so. He just was playing. Okay. Maybe he did. Maybe he had them off. I don't actually know. But can't remember actually. Maybe he didn't have them on. I'd have to go back and check the VOD. I don't think he did. He was playing like really budget kit. He was like VPO and a packer, like just go around like rogue sniping. He's just one of those guys who just enjoys like doing the night rogue like route because it's like farming run or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I don't lose anything when I die, because I did. He actually came into chat. Like he didn't realize, he didn't know who I was, which was actually like it made it even better in some ways. And like I actually prefer that, honestly. But somebody messaged him in game after our like final encounter, because I added him as a friend, and he messaged me back and said, "Hey, if you're still struggling to find your flash drive, like we can raid together like tonight if you want, and I'll help you get it," which was like really nice of him. Given that like he did like I was just some random to him.
Right.
And then he said like somebody messaged him because they had his in-game ID, right? And somebody messaged him, and then he was like, "Oh, someone's just messaged me. Like, do you stream? Do you?" So then he actually came in chat and was just like, "Oh, you stream? Okay, cool." So like that was actually made it kind of better in some ways that like he didn't know, which is awesome. So it's like actual, legitimate, proper encounter.
Organic.
It's like a proper organic encounter, which is nice.
For sure. Nice. So, question for you then, and I might have asked you this before. I'm sorry if I have, but because sometimes I can't tell if we talked to us before, if I've just monologued to myself about this, but So I think one of our critiques is that, and let me know if you agree or disagree, is that the game can feel a bit too, linear or predictable at times.
In certain aspects, yeah, it depends what, but in some ways.
Okay. Now with this quest in particular, it's a bit more. I think we maybe could look at it and be like, oh, this is a bit more dynamic because you have 20 different spawn locations. Would you say that that's true? And if so, is that like, do you like the quest? You know what I mean? Like, do you think the quest makes the game better, the way it's structured?
Yeah, exactly. The question, whether I like the quest or not, is a different
that's probably the wrong
whether
question.
I think the quest is well designed. Those two questions are different.
Yeah.
Like, all things considered, again, I enjoy personal progression too. So even though I don't necessarily like the quest at the start, I do enjoy finishing something like this and feeling more accomplished than I was before. Like when I think I complained to you last time when we spoke about just like I was going into some of these raids being like, I don't even know what my plan is here. Like I'm just not sure. So okay, I think the quest is fairly well designed. The thing that I don't really like is the formulaicness of playing against the rogues in particular. But that's the piece that I don't like so much, because it's like if you don't do, and lots of people just like go and watch Chero's video on patch 13 rogue farming. I did actually watch it previously. It's one of those things that like if you just watch the video, you have to go and do it. Like you have to go and do it so many times to like figure it out, and there's little differences, or this guy's missing, and like if you get the perfect raid where no one else is there and you get to just wander around in the daytime and like kill all the rogues, and like it's super easy. But like every time I'd like go to the front in the day, I'd get like sniped on by somebody, and I end like half in PvP. But I know where the rogues are, and I've got to avoid getting shot by them, and I've got to try and maneuver around the PvP as well. It's like it's not as straightforward as people say. It's like it's always the way people come into chat and they're just like, oh, just watch this run and just do that run, and it's like it doesn't work like that, right? Like half the time you like die just getting to the camp because you end up in some fight or something. But I do think that the rogues are too like they're still too formulaic. Like it's better than it was actually in some ways back when I was doing it, because it's like they always spawned in the same places. They never moved when you shot them, and if you hit them, they just like stay there. If a guy next to them dies, they used to just stay there. Like now they do run around and move and stuff, and that does actually make it better in a sense. But because they're so hard to fight against, when that happens, it almost like screws the run up, because they're so like they're so difficult. And so aimbotty sometimes that it's like that it just makes it problematic. I mean, in some sense, once they're off the guns, does feel a bit fairer. It feels like you're fighting against like raiders rather than fighting against the rogues, because the rogues on the big guns, they just delete you, right?
Yeah.
And especially with the GL, I've been GL'd like so many times trying to do this stupid quest. Like one of them gets back on the gun, and then you just get GL'd. So I don't like the formulaicness of the rogues in that sense. But I think outside of that, I do think that the quest is all right, because there's enough spots that it means that you need to check. Like you could get lucky. And you have to like. There's a few different ways to approach it, which I think is okay. It's like you do the bit that like more times, or you try to clear everything and do the whole camp. But it does sort of make you think about like, okay, where do I want to approach from? Which bit do I want to do? Do I want to do all of it, or do I just check some of it? I think the quest itself is okay. It's hard. Don't get me wrong, but as the quest just before Lightkeeper, I think it probably should be. So my only critique really is like the rogue behavior, but that's sort of not really the quest's fault. That's its own thing. Yeah, I think the quest itself is okay.
So you think having the multiple spawns locations kind of helps make it less more diverse of an experience, less predictable?
Sure. Yeah, and there's a few others, like finding the body of the transmitter was like that as well. Like it could have been in one chalet or the other chalet. The only part about that I'm not super fan of is that like it's like prop hunt, like ridiculous point and click adventure, like pixel hunt.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane. And so you basically just have to use the wiki to find those 20 spots. You'd like can you even imagine doing it without the wiki, right? It's taking me like freaking forever, right? It doesn't give you any hint as to what the spots are. Can you imagine trying to do that without the wiki when it could be in one of those 20? And it took me like 4 different streams to get it, knowing precisely where they are and knowing that it spawns with 100% chance. Like, dude, without that, oh freaking hell, I wouldn't stand a chance.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the other part of it is like, well, technically, any quest can be less predictable if you don't go look up the guide on where it's located. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same, I mean, you bring up a good so I'm playing this pixel game, indie game called Hyper Light Drifter, and it's essentially 2D pixel Dark Souls in a sense. You go to different areas, you clear it, explore stuff, get upgrades, fight the boss, etc., etc. And part of it is there's sort of like additional content through like achievements, doing all the things. So like it's also like a very moody and aesthetic game. Like the soundtrack is just like very unique. But anyways, the how they handle like secrets, if you will, is there's these little symbols. I can't even describe it. It's almost like a dot, a square with a dot inside a square, and I mean it's all pixel art, right? And the game's very like, it's a little bit like sci-fi, but also like very abstract, and so you it's possible for you to miss it or like mistake something that looks like a secret marker and not. But even if you do see it, like you got to figure out. Usually it's just like you go through the wall and it's like a cave and it leads into a room, and then boom, you got your secret. And I specifically like try to avoid looking up anything for the longest time, and because I want to do like everything the game has to offer. But when one broke me, I was like, I can't. Like I've spent like an hour just exploring this entire area of the map, and all the dungeons, and I can't find it. So I mean, like I'm just gonna look it up on the guide. And then I saw where I missed it. I was like, oh, okay, that's where it's at, blah, blah. But like I could have like just saved myself hours of gameplay and just looked up all the guides and done it, So it's just kind of this weird thing, like in the era of like information and YouTube and all these resources we have, it's like for the game designer, it's very challenging where you maybe want to make it like if you make it too difficult, then they're just gonna look up the guide and complain, you know, about it. But if it's like too easy, then it's like not fun and challenging either. So it's like it's such a weird balance you have to make. And I guess what I liked about because the game, like I said, the game's very like abstract. Like, it doesn't really tell you what any of this stuff means. Like, I didn't even know what I was doing for the longest time. Like, I knew I was supposed to fight bosses, but like it doesn't tell you that outright. It's just like there's a skull icon on the map. There's like these weird monoliths that you pull up, and then it's like a triangle that's a makeup of a diamond, and then you can add more triangles to make it a square. But like, what does any of this mean? It's like this door wants 3 triangles. It's like, okay, I guess I need to get 3 triangles. Like, it's just very abstract. I like that. So you have to like reverse engineer, figure out what stuff means. And eventually I figured out that, this symbol means this is a secret area. So like I had to backtrack and go do all that. And that it basically, without laying it out to me, I kind of like stumbled upon the discovery. And then it makes me feel really smart. It's like, oh, I'm a genius. But then I realized it's like it trained me. Like once I learned that, like put the puzzle pieces together, then I can take that existing foundation and now go back and apply it to all the other areas I explored. So it's like, there's a secret I missed. There's a secret I missed. There, And I wonder if like, is there something Tarkov could do in that philosophy? Because like it's like I want those experiences where like you feel smart, but it's like challenging, but it's not just like the hobo sleeping in the cart on the train tracks, and then there's a key there or a document, and then you have to do the little pixel gap thing and figure it out. What I mean? It's like you want, I don't know if it's like consistency or something, but I don't know how they could do that. Maybe it's like a graffiti spraying. Jaeger was here.
Yeah, and you're like looking for a particular pattern on a wall or something that's like it's something that's obvious, but you'd miss it. It wouldn't have any meaning if you didn't know, or maybe it only appears when you're doing the quest or something. Now, this is the thing, right? It's like that balance between like Tarkov's gone like so full on, just like so abstract that you can't ever work it out. Like it's not a puzzle because you can't figure it out. You just have to brute force it. And you just wander around until someone in the community finds it, and then they tell everybody. Like in the context of what you're saying, the flash drive version 3 is actually almost good quest design because it's good in a meta sense as well. Almost in the fact that like because the wiki exists and because they know the spawn locations are going to be showcased, having 20 locations that are, I mean, they're not necessarily obscure. Like some of them are a little bit obscure, but it's just because the flash drive is really small. That's mainly the problem. And there's no real way to like signpost it without, as you say, doing like a graffiti spray or something. Like it's just not signposted at all. You just have to find this like tiny little item that's like on the corner of a box or something. That's almost the best way of going about it, because it's like you can look up on the wiki where all the points are. You still have to go and check them all. Yeah, and it's almost in a meta sense. Like it's like because we know that it'll be on the wiki, we don't need to worry about the spawn points being difficult because they'll be found eventually. And it's like a good challenge for those who want to like race through, and it's like a community thing for those people who are finding it first, and then for everybody else, they just use the information that was gathered by other people, and they can use the wiki, but then they still have to go and check everything. And like it's almost like the best way to design it, like given what's going to happen to the information, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
So yeah, I mean, overall, I think it's all right. I think it was a good quest. Ultimately, it forced me to do stuff that I'm not very good at and didn't really want to do, but we got there eventually and had some like fun interaction and stuff. So probably the best interaction I've ever had, honestly, in Tarkov. Like I don't think I've ever interacted with another player in that way, and somebody that I didn't know. Probably the best one that I've had so far. So yeah, it did work. It did actually do the work. And so we're going to go and meet Lightkeeper on the next stream with the transcoder thing. Should be pretty fun.
I did have another follow-up question based off that experience. So I watched a Landmark video where I think it was like the thumbnail was like Landmark, he was reacting like, and then or some reaction, right? And then it was like PMC Karma, but it was like they wasn't like the text, it was like they edited thumbnail so like it was in the game, Anyway, so I was interested in what Landmark had to say, and it was essentially like the game's gonna die if this comes in, like that type of take. And but I was wondering, like, based off your um experience, what if, because this is like, okay, let me think how to do this. So Landmark's basically saying that there's no way, there's not like a good way to determine, like, if you're going to be punished for killing your same faction, it's going to feel really bad. Which I think makes sense. And then it's like, this isn't good for, like, part of his argument was like, you shoot people, this is the game of guns. But I won't really get into that much. But getting to my question here, do you think it would be more interesting if you could have more of those encounters by proxy of PMC Karma existing? Because in my mind, hypothetically, you hear someone, you either voice comm to them or you in-game comm to them. Maybe they have to add some new voice lines like identify yourself, and then you could USEC, F whatever. But yeah, well, you think that would be more interesting because you might build some new temporary allies? Or I mean, it all kind of depends on the details of how Scav Karma works, or PMC Karma works. I mean, one thing Landmark suggests is like maybe they could only have it where you can only be rewarded, like you can't be punished. Like that would be a something he would like. But
that doesn't sound like BSG, does it?
No.
I don't really know. There's a lot of people have been talking about it. The reason why this cropped up in the first place was because there was that random pop-up in game that some people were getting as a bug, and they were trying to load into a map, and it was saying, warning, you will lose PMC Karma, da da da. There was like some like piece of text in the game that appeared for a couple of people. It was like a random bug, and I think it's when they were loading in a scav, bizarrely, and it was definitely confirmed as a bug. But like they have some like I know everybody was saying, like, I'm a nice guy, and a few other people I think were saying like, this doesn't mean PMC Karma's coming to the game, it's just a bug, like da da da. But I'm just like, text exists, guys.
Yeah,
like, you can't deny the text existing. Like, maybe it doesn't show. It was written a long time ago. I don't know.
Yeah. There's a lot of possibilities, but I'm kind of in agreement with you. Right.
Yeah.
There's something there.
Yeah, exactly. In some fashion, it's not just Nikita talking. Like something went in the game on that basis, even if it's just some piece of writing that they got some copywriter to do. That I'm not sure, but like, it's just like what I said. I got asked yesterday. The devil's in the details, like you said, but they have to be extremely careful. Like Landmark's take, I don't think is necessarily incorrect, because right now the end game of Tarkov is PvP, and people are already a bit dissatisfied with the way that that's gone, because it used to be easier just to play the game on a PvP basis back in like 12.11 and whatever, because the game basically just became arcade PvP at the end, and that was like fine. You did all the grind, you did all the hardcore stuff, there's nothing else there, and people just wanted to play and fight and make money and feel like PvP gods at the end, as the top echelon did anyway. And so I kind of like understand, right? If they're going to make it harder for players to kill each other, or make it like punish people for killing each other or whatever, then it's like, okay, what are you trying to drive the players to actually do here, right? If there's nothing else to actually do, then the game's just like PvE game. Now, the reason why me and the dude met up and grouped together in the rogue camp is because like he was PvEing the rogues and I was doing a quest that didn't rely on me killing players. So it's a tricky one, because in that situation, it makes a lot of sense for us to group up. But like in the normal course of late game Tarkov, like what do you actually do? Like you're there just to kill people, so there's no other real goal. And then maybe you want to do some of these late game quests like hint or whatever. But like, do we really just want to play PvE Tarkov? Like I'm not sure if that's really the game. So the game has to be like very different, and there's something to around the incentives that we have really have to change. And they have to do it in a way that is not like the way they did Scav Karma, because Scav Karma, we've spoken about before, is like way too basic. There's basically no upside to being bad, really. It's a bit of monetary, but like it's nothing really.
Yeah.
And there's only downside, and there's just upside for being good, which means that most Scavs, it's actually a little bit less cut dried now, especially on factory, and especially because it's late wipe, because like people just don't care about their karma so much. But when it first came out, especially in like early wipe, people really care about their karma because they want to play scav more. And basically, the scavs just like don't kill each other, which is fine. But you don't end up in a situation where like the best way to play the game is like for PMCs to never shoot at each other and never kill each other and all just go and get our quests and then we can all just play bosses together. Like it's I don't know where that ends up, right? I just don't think that works. So the game has to be very different. We have to have shared goals. You need to bring in more tools. Like they brought in Scav Karma before the tools were in place. They brought Scav Karma in before VoIP. I always thought that was a mistake. Scav Karma only really made sense after VoIP. They brought it in before, so the meta got set as never kill anybody else because you couldn't speak to each other properly. That was set before they brought the tools in, right? I think the ordering matters because the community behavior and the player behavior is actually quite hard to change once it's set. Even if you then bring in tools that are supposed to do something else later on, it's a tricky thing to reverse. So we need other things as PMC. We need ways to identify each other. I don't know how that would work. You need ways to communicate and group up and that kind of thing, like with the radios and stuff. Like you need the ability to do that. Like maybe if you've met somebody before, you share credentials and maybe it gives you a radio frequency, or maybe the game notifies you if somebody you've played with before who you've met up with is in a raid, so you can radio to each other again. I don't know. There needs to be some aspect. There needs to be way more tools to allow people to do this stuff. Otherwise, it's just going to go one of two ways. Either no one's going to ever shoot anybody, or everyone's just not going to care about PMC Karma and just kill each other on site. I just don't think it'll work otherwise. Like it's just hard.
Yeah, I mean, if we're basing off of Scav Karma, then yeah, I would say it is going to be very, if you're going to be very scared to shoot anybody because the punishments are really bad. Again, basing this off of Scav Karma. So there's going to be a weird metagame of trying to information game, trying to figure out if this person's actually who they say they are, if you can trust them. Well, I mean, you can trust them, but you both need to identify you're on the same faction or opposing factions to determine if fighting is appropriate or not, So it would be, it's like you're adding a pre-layer of gaming you have to do now, So longer you shoot on site, you have to figure out. So, I mean, the main thing I would push back on is just the idea that, Tarkov is PvP. I just think it's just factually wrong.
Well, it is at the moment.
Well, what you're saying specifically, in game, there's the only thing to do is PvP, right? And I mean, I would agree that all there is left to do really is just shoot stuff. There's no progression because you've completed the progression, right?
Yeah.
So, but I think, holistically speaking, I don't think Tarkov is just PvP.
No, of course.
Yeah. So that's just kind of my issue with these types of takes is like, it just seems to, oversimplify. Like I feel like there's potential there, but the devil's in the details, of course. But I don't know what the exact solution would be.
If you're not careful, I just think that you end up making the emergent player behavior swing too far one way or the other, and it'll be when they added VoIP, the early wipe for PMCs actually got quite a lot easier because a lot of people just VoIP and just do quests and don't bother fighting, which is fine.
Well, yeah, but I mean it's fine. I actually dislike that a lot because it's like they're gaming. I mean, it's like a good thing. I don't know. It's just weird. Like you don't see that often, that same behavior in like Rust, for example. I mean, Rust's a little bit more sweatier because I think they've tried to change it a little bit, but your life is kind of more expensible than like DayZ, for example, because you have sleeping bags and you could place a bunch of sleeping bags. I mean, there's a cost to it, but you could have tons of sleeping bags and basically just, what they call grubs, where, you die in a fight and then more people come to the fight and there's a big chaos and now you're running back naked, getting scraps, fighting people. It's just like everyone's doing that. So it's just kind of crazy. But like in Tarkov with the VoIP, it's like people are like using that to gamify a system. Like, hey, I gotta do this quest. Hey, I think my favorite example is a Jesse Kazam where he was in factory having to kill PMCs, and then I guess he kind of made a compromise in favor of the guy, but basically what ended up happening, he was like, let me plant my blue things and then you can kill me for your quest. And it's like such a gamey thing, but it's like, I guess it works because you're both progressing in the same sense that you would in like Rust. You know, if like you work together to, you know, do some objective, you both share, split the loot, whatever. It's kind of like the same uh idea. It's just like looks very differently in Tarkov, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, there's some of the things about some stuff like maybe will be okay. It depends on what happens. Like it depends on what the disadvantages are, honestly, to PMC Karma. Like if you, because you can't make the cooldown longer because there isn't a cooldown for playing PMC.
Right.
So that's not really a thing. That's probably my single least favorite thing about Scav Karma is the fact that it increases the cooldown. Like Moonshine Case and all that stuff, that's fine. But like to increase the cooldown of people playing Scav because of low Scav Karma, I think it's like just kind of annoying. But that won't exist for PMC. So I guess it'd probably be something like lower trader rep, I guess. But the traders are too important, and so it means no one will ever want to lose rep, which means that then early wipe, like no PMCs will ever shoot each other. And it will just kind of like ruin the game in some ways, I feel. For anybody who's playing in like a meta way, you know, it's like Scav is now really, really boring. I used to play a lot more Scav than I do now because it's so dull. Because unless you're playing factory, you can just run around all the maps. Unless you meet PMC, which is very, very rare, then you can just run around and just loot infinitely, and it doesn't make it's just super easy. And it's just not, I don't know, it's just not fun. It used to be a big free for all. Like it used to be difficult playing Scav as well. Like, it was easier because the AI wouldn't be fighting against you. You used to just be able to kill all the player Scavs, and it was like of no consequence. So like I've never really liked Scav Karma that much. I still don't really like Scav Karma particularly.
I think the problem is that they've made it absolutist. Like they've already determined what is, you know, morally sound within Scav Karma. Because the thing that frustrates me is, as I said before, is half the time I'm fighting other players running to the loot. You know what I mean? And it's like, even if, you know, someone cuts me off and loots, like, screw you, you know, you can't do anything about it. What, you want to lose, you know, X amount of karma just to kill me? It's really annoying, right? So it's like, dude, you know, but what I think would be interesting is, and I think Fallout New Vegas has something similar like this, but instead of having like these, you know, Scav PMC, and then within PMC you have Baron USEC, what if you had like Scav, and then within that there's like 3 different factions, right? And you know, maybe just 2 different factions. I don't know, but essentially the idea is like one faction is maybe like the chaotic evil Scavs. They just always shoot on the site. The other one's like the lawful good Scavs. Like they're the good Scavs. They want to work together. And then the other one's like, I don't know, whatever on the chart, you know, but there's like certain principles and ideas, and so you kind of like align with one group, and then based off your alignment with that group, other groups treat you differently. You know, maybe you have like rewards or something, but kind of the same idea of like USEC and Bear. Like maybe you have like the USEC rogues that are just like, you know, they have their own morals and ideas and principles about how things should be done. And you got like the, you know, straight A, you know, USEX or whatever, but something like this where it's a little less cut and dry, and you can kind of like fluid, you know, maybe one day you're an evil, you know, chaotic evil Scav or whatever, and then you know, slowly work your way towards a different faction. I don't know, just something a bit more less like absolute rigid. This is exactly how you behave, now do it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like you could almost have one where it's like, if you align with that the aggressive faction, you also get shot at by Scavs all the time.
Yeah.
But you gain points by killing other Scavs, for example, like other player Scavs or something. And I know a lot of people would just like go and do that, but then it's like, okay, it's harder for you because you're always getting shot at by Scavs, but there's some upside there because you gain points in a different way. Whereas if you're like a good Scav, then you can wander around and AI Scavs won't even touch you. You know, it's just like, something different. I just think I agree with you. It's too much one way. And I just fear that PMC Karma is going to be the same thing. It's going to be too much like, this is what we want you to do. This is how we want you to react or interact with each other. And that's it. This is the way, you know, killing players without interacting on your own team. That's going to be just instant negative karma, whatever. Like, regardless of the situation, like it's too simple, and it needs to be more complicated, and there needs to be more tools for it and stuff. It's just like, I don't know. But we'll see. We don't know what their plans are yet at all. So
Yeah,
That's the biggest worry for me, though. Is that it's just going to change the behavior in a weird way.
The last I heard, Nikita said, we don't know. It's something to the effect that we don't know what we're going to do as PMC Karma. If you have any ideas, please submit them to us.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. It's a real tricky thing because of all the systems surrounding it, and how the game's set up. If it was like a single player game, I feel like it'd be so much easier.
Yeah, and even if we had some kind of like, if there were ways to group up dynamically in raid and then have, and there were HUD markers and stuff,
right.
Like, not that I'm advocating for that, but like, in a game where that existed, it's a lot easier to make it work, because then you kind of know who's on your team and who's not and all of this stuff. Whereas like in Tarkov, it's just, you don't know anyway, and then even after you've grouped up, you still don't know, and everyone looks the same, and you can't tell one person from another. It's just like, it's not really like, the game's not really set up to take that kind of system, I don't think, unless you really give people a lot of tools, like I said about the radios and stuff like that, and like have the ability for people to update where you are, maybe like see, like maybe mark a position on a map. If you load in, you take a map with you and you radio to somebody and they can give you a coordinate reference. Like, you wouldn't have to actually manually do it yourself, but you say swap coordinates or something, it would just be a button, and you like radio in, and it would just like mark on the map where you are, where they are, and like maybe you'd have to bring it up. Like, it's not, it's not going to be a HUD or anything, but you just like bring up the map, and then there you go. Like, you both, okay, so we know where each other are. Fine. Well, I'm going to move to here. I'm going to move to there, and then you could like plan an operation together without necessarily having to be next to each other, and you broadly know where they were, and they could tell you. Then it'd be down to communication again, and that would be the skill of comms in Tarkov, which is its own skill, which I think is a good thing. That we don't have the HUD and whatever. It kind of balances the game for solos versus big teams. But you'd bring that into the, because it's like, I think the big problem is like the point of first contact. Like, where does that happen? Does that happen with guns out behind walls, or does that happen like on spawn in, because you're saying, okay, are there any other USECs on the map? Does anybody want to team up? Like, where are you? What's your mission? Are you going anywhere? You can agree or disagree on where to go, or maybe you don't even want to meet up, and you just say, fine, well, I'll go this way, so I won't see you, so you can kill any bears that you see, or I'll go this way, and so you won't see me, so you can kill anyone and don't worry about it. That kind of thing. But it's that point of first contact. How do people actually get in contact with each other? How do you actually team up and work together? And how will that influence I see a guy and I'm going to kill him. Oh, now I've just lost Karma because like he was on my team, but like he never bothered coming, or he never responded to the radio or anything. It's like, do I lose just random Karma for that? Yeah. And do I lose trader rep for that? Because if I do, like, I can't think of much stuff that you could lose. Like, you got to lose some kind of points or something like that, right? As a PMC, but like, nothing in your hideout is going to blow up.
They bring back skill degradation.
Yeah, could give you like negative XP maybe, or but negative trader rep would just be like, because it's so important, without rebalancing the loot stuff that I talked about in another cast, and I actually ended up doing a video about it, but I kind of forgot about it because I was like away on holiday and then it posted, so I didn't even talk about it. But like the alt-in video, I don't know if you saw that one.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, and the tequila face one. So it's about like the loot rebalancing that we've talked about before on this podcast. Then it's sort of, then the traders are not as important, but in the current game structure, the traders are too important to lose points for, so you just basically never want to kill anyone. And so they've got to do that, like, kind of thing. But I could see that working, honestly. I could see it working with radios, but you got to throw the player a bone and be like, you can contact other USECs at the start of the raid if you're USEC. You can contact other bears if you're bear at the start of the raid. So something like that, and like you can link up, because then there's still enemy PMCs on the map, like the bears that are not gonna sort of, flag up Scav Karma or whatever, or like, it shows you the spawn points of all USECs when you're entering, or maybe you need high level intel center. I don't know, man. There's lots of ways that they can do it, but we need a bunch of these things to come in with it. It can't just go, we've introduced PMC Karma and you now lose 0.1 trader rep every time, or 0.01 trader rep every time you kill a PMC of your current faction, and have fun. Like, that can't be it. That can't be it.
Yeah,
it has to be something else.
This is the thing I want to know, because back when Nikita was doing an AMA or whatever, when he was answering questions on Reddit, I started typing up something, and then I realized, damn, this is actually really hard, and I don't even know. But one of the main things I want to ask him is like, is Scav Karma achieving the goals you set out to be? Or like, or like, in your eyes, you see Scav Karma successful, and like, what are the goals for it? Like, I kind of want to like probe, like, how do they feel about that? Like, if that's exactly how they want it to be, then I have major concerns about PMC Karma. You know what I mean? Because I think what you and I are saying back before Scav Karma, despite that most people were shooting on site, which maybe could play into the fact that, you know, your life isn't really, it's like you got a free kit, so like why you're almost like incentivized to gamble. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, here's some money, you know. Oh, okay. Well, might as well bet on, you know, whatever. But I just wonder if like what you and I are saying is like we kind of like the more Wild West esque experience where, you know, it's like every man for himself, but you can work together if you want to, you know, and it's arguably in your favor to work together. But like, can you trust them? You know, there's always that uncertainty, and I mean, that's kind of what I would like. And one other thing I was reminded of when you were talking about the radios, I think it'd be really cool if you could also have like a radio scanner and like pick up people's frequencies, like the you know, and and get basically tap into what their conversation and get free information. Because I was thinking of like Abney Dude doing a video like that. This one Tarkov strategy net me so much profit.
Exactly. Yeah, the Scav Karma thing's funny because I think one interesting observation is that we never got to try Scav gameplay with VoIP without Karma.
Yeah, I feel the same. Yeah.
So we never got to see what happened with that. The reason everyone killed on site was because you just couldn't talk to each other. There was no way to actually get that positive experience with each other. So
you could wiggle,
kill each other. You could wiggle, but I mean,
it's a very like primitive tool. You know, we have language.
You're both looking at each other already with the weapons out. If one person's wiggling, right? So you'd normally just die. And the meta was just to kill the other players. Whereas I think it's a shame that we didn't get VoIP first still, because we may have seen emergent player behavior. Maybe not. Maybe it would have just continued to be kill on site. It probably would have continued to be kill on site, but at least it would have given the chance.
You'd have more tools.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like PMC Karma doesn't exist, but VoIP does, and I grouped up with that guy. And I'm really not a big VoIper and a big like group rocker. I'm just like, you know, endlessly cynical of other players and typically kill on site kind of dude. But in that particular scenario, it worked out. And that's without PMC Karma, and that's with VoIP. So like VoIP's the tool really, but there's and that's the thing. It's like the only reason why it did work, like we killed each other in another raid. The only reason why it did work is because we were within VoIPing range, but on the other side, each on the other side of a wall.
Yeah.
And so we couldn't actually shoot at each other, which is why I think radios are important, because it's like, here's a way to communicate before the point of contact for combat.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
I do think that's critical.
Yeah. Another thing that would help too is like if you could run into the same person more times than not, well then you don't have that's the thing, you don't have a name tag. Like how would you identify that that's the same person you ran into?
You could like swap credentials over the radio or something.
Yeah, but how do you, like, basically what I'm suggesting, like in Rust, sometimes you may like make an enemy, right? And you guys are just constantly like butting each other. Maybe you're neighbors. And then eventually one of you, you know, you get the upper hand, then he gets the upper hand on you, and you go back and forth. And then eventually, you know, you both had your revenge and you both feel satisfied, and you're like, okay, you want to make a truce? Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense, you know. But it took a lot of like bickering to like, I got you, and then he got me. But eventually it makes sense to make a truce because you're neighbors, you know, you gotta live with each other. So I just wonder if like you could do something similar like that in Tarkov, but like you know, you don't have name tags, so like you can't, you know, it's very obvious when I see my neighbor, regardless of where I'm at, because I see their name tag. Well, yeah, when I'm close enough. I mean, there's certain limitations on that, but so I don't know. You'd have to think of something. Yeah, it's tough because even if you did make them like visually identifiable up close, I don't know. It'd have to be like super obvious, like a name tag, right? Like a giant floating name tag that, oh, that's the guy that I made a truce with 2 raids ago. I don't know what you would do there. But I like the radio idea, so I think that's a lot of fun. It's more tools to do cool things, which I'm always down for.
Exactly. And I feel like putting those tools in before the Karma system is a good idea, because you give people the ability to like try it out and play first. And then you say, again, it comes all the way back to the thing of like, what do you actually want people to do? This isn't just about like punishing people for killing other players. Like, what do you actually want players to do? It's like with Scav Karma, when we talked about it ages ago, I came to the decision or the conclusion that's like, okay, you want scavs to work together to kill PMCs. Fine, but like we didn't get any tools to do that. We just got negative rep for killing other scavs and VoIP. Like if they want to make PMC Karma successful, they have to think about what they actually want players to do.
Yeah.
And what kind of behavior do they actually want from people, and then they have to build the system around that.
And that's my question. Is like I would really want to know that from BSG, because if indeed this is what they want, you know, if they want scavs to work together, then I guess mission accomplished. You know, I'm not sure what.
Well, but I'm not sure even if they were, as you were saying, it's not even sure if they were actually working together though. They're just everyone's just like on their own looting. They know no one else is going to kill them most of the time. And they're just like, they're not really working together.
I mean, we're like forced cooperation. Like we're cooperation by association. You know,
yeah, exactly. So it's just a bit strange.
Yeah.
Not sure. Well, we'll see. But yeah, lots of people have been talking about it. Like, oh, it's going to kill the game and blah, blah, blah. But like, depends how they do it.
Yeah.
In the current formulation, people are scared that they're just going to,
I think, given
PMC Karma on top and just go,
right.
Now you're punished for killing other players in the exact current formulation and nothing else changes. That's what people are worried about.
Yeah, I share that same worry. Like, given Scav Karma, you know, the precedent set isn't all that great in my mind. So
yeah,
I don't know.
So given this conversation began with Mr. Landmark, there was actually a video that he posted that I hadn't seen about flashlights after the fix, which I thought was kind of interesting, just as like a short note about he was testing with logical solutions in offline and just like seeing what worked and what didn't work. And it was like interesting seeing like a whole bunch of different stuff, like them standing in front of each other and moving to the side, and how like it really does taper off a lot from the side.
That's changed.
Yeah, it seems a lot better now. So it's like it's really bright still from the front, or like relatively bright from the front, and you can still kind of see them in some places. But then when you move to the side, it really does fall off quite quickly. But they tried a bunch of different stuff, which was sort of interesting. They tried like top mount, bottom mount, left mount, right mount, which is kind of cool. And I don't know how it worked previously, but now at least, you know, if you're doing different peaks and stuff, if you have your flashlight mounted on the left and you're peaking a tight angle around the right corner, like your flashlight won't actually work.
Don't want to do that.
You won't even they won't even see it. So if you're right peaking, you kind of want it on the right hand side. And if you've got it underneath and you're pointing directly at somebody and you're doing leg meta or whatever, your barrel will get in the way. They actually won't be flashlight. They won't be like flash lit anymore. But the one fun thing that they did was showing one flashlight on both sides of the handguard to have two, and having two, like, so X400s do seem to be better than like Balder Pros, I believe. Like somebody showed me this on my stream, and it is actually better. But two X400s or the two decent flashlights on both sides, it's like double as good. So two flashlights means you basically can't see the person at all, and it like widens the cone. It just like makes it makes hard.
Sense, yeah.
So I think like two flashlight meta kind of is a real thing. From what I saw there, I actually did it in one raid, and it was just like, you know, it was decent. But I think that's, if you want to really get the most value out of flashlights, and they're not that much either, right? They're only 10k or so for a basic flashlight, or even actually less. Buying them from the traders. I think the Balder's like 6k, but the X400 is like 10 or something from the traders. So it's only another 10k, and you get like a really strong flashlight effect, and it makes it very difficult for people to shoot at you, kind of like the old system, which is pretty fun. So yeah, either if you're just putting one on the right hand side seems to be the best for doing the leaning, and then if you put two on, if you want to go like full flashlight meta, and it just like it makes it impossible for people to see you just because it's just like glowing like the sun. And more than that, it didn't seem to make much difference. But also it means you can lean both directions and not worry about it not working, which is kind of interesting. You know, left and right peaks will both be okay.
Yeah.
You have a flashlight in their face.
Yeah, but just right peak, bro. Just only right peak.
Yeah.
No, you're talking about two flashlight meta. It just reminded me of one of my favorite Tarkov meme builds, the MPX Ray of God build, where you just mount 8. I think it's 8 or 9. Maybe it's more. It's an insane amount of flashlights. You literally, not only can they not see, but you also cannot see. It's so good.
Yeah. It's good. Well, that was another Abney strategy, wasn't it, with the thermal?
Oh yeah,
Where you
with
could use it. You could see through the if you put the thermal on and then took it off, then you could see through your optic completely fine, and you could just like spotlight somebody. I
yeah,
think they actually fixed that bug, but you
I
could
think
like
so. Yeah,
spotlight someone, and you would just like find a PMC, and just like turn on the god beam, and it was just like people like like trying to shoot, but like can't even shoot at him because it's just like the whole screen's basically just white. Like it's just
yeah.
insane. Yeah, pretty funny. So yeah, maybe we'll have to move to the double. I don't really like flashlights anyway, but I begrudgingly use them, so we'll probably go to double flashlight meta.
Dang, that'd be pretty cool. What if in the road camp, right? They had floodlights that you could mount and use to aim to shine lights at rocks. So if like one of your teammate was like, "Hey, there's a sniper up on the hill," you get on the floodlight and then illuminate them, and then they're blind
Ugh.
essentially. That'd be kind of interesting.
Oh, I see, off on the side, and then you could shoot it out still.
Yeah. Well, they
Yeah,
would have to like move, or they can't see
yeah,
now, so they're kind of screwed. But I guess they could shoot the light.
yeah. If they
But
can
it'd
hit the
be
middle,
yeah, it'd be an interesting
be interesting. I did
idea.
enjoy like the bits around the road camp that I did with the MVGs. It did actually feel cool in some places. Like I did end up taking a suppressed M9 a lot of the time. I just use that to shoot out the lighting.
Oh yeah,
And you can shoot all the lights and stuff, and it's pretty sick.
yeah.
Like I actually had some like cool night like technical features working well with like the full quad nods because I went only quad nods in there, and yeah, because you don't get blinded really by the lights when it's not like completely dark, which is just such a huge advantage with them. But I did end up like shooting out a bunch of the lights, like go through. And when I fought the goons in building 2, I got M6 wand like straight through my GTSK rig and just zeroed it immediately because it was like a 33 out of 40 rig, and I just got zeroed in one shot by Mr. Sniper Man. And so I was like hidden in this room, but I was like with my Scar H with the nods on, and then I had like the laser on, and I was like, because I knew I wasn't playing against other players, it was against AI, so I had like the laser, like creeping around and like taking some shots with like the laser on with the nods. I was like, oh, this is actually really really nice. Like I don't play enough at night to like take advantage of this stuff, and like in the past when I've gone like, oh, we'll go night, and everyone who plays nights is like, no, turn off the lasers, no, you're like a huge beacon. If anyone else has got like nods on, you're gonna be so obvious. So it was good to actually be able to play with those features without feeling like I'm giving away myself. But yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, I like the. There's some interesting gameplay in Night Raid and Tarkov because the lighting, flashlights. Now it's changed, of course, with the lasers. The infrared actually do stuff. Um, there's some interesting. There's always this weird idea where it's like, do I remove my flashlights and cut all my, or sorry, remove my NVGs and cut all my flashlights and push this guy, or do I not do that? Or do I leave them on and cut all my flashlights so neither of us can see? It's kind of a weird little game. But
Yeah, it's interesting. Maybe I should play some more like Streets Night. I've not really done Streets Night, but maybe I should play a bit more of that. Get the feather filters out and play some Streets Night. That'd be kind of cool. I don't know.
he's cheating. Read.
It's in the game, bro. It's in the game. Cool.
Cool.
Yeah, fine. So that was that little piece. What else was I going to talk about? Oh, yes. Was there any other topics that you had, like burning topics?
Oh, the one thing I want to mention was dog tags. I think they should buff dog tags. I think that's the most reasonable thing to buff PvP. I've come to the conclusion. And
Yes.
I've watched I think in that landmark video, because I was like kind of skimming through, I noticed he looted some type of rig or armor that was like zeroed out. I can't remember what it was. I think but essentially, yeah, he basically had their entire kit. And I mean, a lot of that's offset because of his skills, his max strength and whatnot. But I thought that was interesting because you typically, especially landmark, I don't think he ever really took someone's body armor. Maybe they're armored rigged, because you can put more loot in there.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. I'm not sure if that's the play nowadays. Probably for his skills, like max strength, that's probably the move, I would imagine. I'm not sure.
You mean to like sell it or to use it?
Oh, it was definitely sell it, yeah. Because it was like 0.4 out of 80 or whatever. It was like completely shredded. It might have been like
you could repair. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could, but he's a pure ruble man. He does the whole meta of cash only. You click and buy type of thing.
Mm-hmm. 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 What armor was it? Was it like a Gen 4 or something? Because like some of those are like so much more now.
I can't remember. Like it might have been the green. What's the green one? The Redux.
Reduce?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because that's really pricey
might have
now.
been that. I can't remember, dude.
Yeah, because that used to be 60k from full to the traders, and now
Yeah.
it's like 130,000 or something. So like over doubled in terms of pricing.
So that's like what? I'm pretty sure it's
Still
a
not
four
great per
by
slot.
three.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, the reduces though. I said it's still not great per slot though. 12 slots or whatever.
What would it? Let's see, 12. And what was the price you said?
10 and a bit. It's like only like 11k or something. It's like it's not amazing, but
that's
it's alright.
But that's, I mean, at least it's effectively the same as him looting 10 or 12.
That is at full
junk.
HP. You got to repair it first.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
And repair kits are like 800k now.
Yeah,
I was looking at this the other day. Like, it doesn't always make sense to repair with the repair kit now. It's kind of intriguing. I'm still like going through some of the information. Yeah, because the price is so high. It's like sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. Like sometimes you're better off selling. Now you're better off selling to Fence a lot more than repairing and selling to Ragman. Kind of depends. I was kind of getting into like, because I have a lot of broken TTSK rigs. They take one shot, and I'm like, do I want to repair these things? Like I shot a one single shot, because I get shot with the BP a lot. One shot of BP into a TTSK, almost like it is a pretty much guaranteed absorption, and you end up with 23 out of 40 almost every time. It's like 23 out of 40 every time. So I have like loads of these 23 out of 40 rigs where like I killed somebody, but they shot me once with BP in the chest. And I'm like, man, like, do I really want to repair this to like 32 out of 40? But I can't sell it to Ragman at that. So I've been tinkering around with like repairing with Prapor, like 3 points, just so I can sell it to Ragman. You know, like repair it just a tiny amount, just so it's over the threshold, and then Ragman will take it, and then I can sell it to him. Because I'm spending the least amount on the repair, just so that Ragman will then take it, so I don't have to sell it to Spence.
Yeah.
Just try and get the best recycle cost that I can. But yeah, it's interesting with the repair kit now.
On that.
Yeah, it's funny, and it seems to depend on the rig. Like I've been looking at a few different ones, and it's like some of them the repair kit's still better. Some of them it's like Prapor's the cheapest, but obviously it's the worst. It's just like it seems a bit random. I don't know whether it's material based or class based or durability points based. I'm like still not 100% sure. But yeah, I'm trying to figure that one out. But no, it's interesting to see him take a rig. Maybe he was like intrigued just to see how much it would be worth when he took it out. Because that's one of those things.
It could be,
you
yeah.
can't know until you do it what a zeroed Reduce M is going to look like to sell, because you can't manufacture that yourself. You have to like go in, get it zeroed, throw it on the floor, like come out, or like leave the raid with it, come out, like see how much the repair cost is, and then try to sell it. Like it's one of those things you can't really test. It's one of the hardest parts about doing something like that. Like I bought a bunch of zeroed armors off to have a look at the repair costs, and I've got some armors myself, but it's difficult to manufacture something like that because you can't do it offline, because when you come back, they're all 100% again. It's a tricky one these days to actually do. And a lot of them you can't buy off the flea either. So again, it becomes even more problematic, because you used to be able to buy zeroed ones to do these kind of tests. I used to do that fairly regularly in the late game when I had like millions of rubles and it didn't matter. Just buy a Redo 10, buy a Zabralo, buy this, buy that, buy them all zeroed off the flea, just to then see what the repair cost is. But now you have to kind of like go and do it yourself. It's much more painful.
Yeah, I just think there's a problem if they keep buffing armored sellbacks, because like that guy that shot BP at you, he paid like what 100k, or I'm sorry, 1,000 rubles to basically negate half the value of your armor, essentially, right? It only took one BP bullet, and like like the trade-off there is like amazing, right? I mean, he lost, but there's just a huge difference there, and I think you do want that difference, but you just want armor to do something. But then you don't want to run into a situation where you're buying armor for 100% and then you're selling it back for like 99% of its value. You know what I mean? It's just like, I think there's kind of a problem there. So you probably want I don't know. I just kind of think, because even in Landmark's case, like let's say that was the correct play to do financially speaking. You know, there wasn't any other better loot in the map that was like the best he could do for the slots he had and the loot that he got off that player. Only not many people are gonna be able to. That's not going to be viable for many people because they're going to be overweight instantly as soon as they pick it up. So I don't know. I
especially
think
one of those like I'm overweight when I wear the damn thing.
Yeah, because he already, like I said, he literally absorbed that entire guy's kit and he kept this kit. So it was like 50 something, which is, you know, still pretty decent. But anyways, I think they should really look at buffing dog tags, man. Like I feel like 3x is, you know, if they're really scared, 2x. But I think that based off everything done, seems like the way to go to make, you know, PvP a bit more rewarding.
Exactly, and they've done the thing to stop teammates from taking dog tags. Now that's in. So come on, guys, let's get the final piece through.
Because honestly, too, if you think about it, and you might have actually said this, in some ways it buffs insurance. Like if the meta way to play is just to loot their dog tags because their gear is not worth taking out, like the weight to rubles value is insane on the dog tag versus their gear, then in some ways insurance gets better. So like that's kind of good for the guy dying, right? So it's like,
there's that too. It does impact the dog tag barters, but what they have to do is they triple the prices. They basically just have to like cut the level requirement by 3.
Yeah, they could do that. I think they should gut the dog tags. Yeah, that'd be the easiest way. Yeah,
if you want to just keep it the same and not mess with it, you just have to like, the ones that were level 30 before, it's now level 10. Because otherwise you change the relative ruble pricing and make all the barters useless if you triple the cost, because there's no point doing it anymore. You know, like I did one of those for the MVGs because it's like 9 PMC tags of like 25 or above something. I think something along those lines. And I was like, okay, well this is actually worth doing. You know, it's like that one, the RSAS one is also pretty good. But yeah, they'll become useless if they make them more expensive. Yeah. Cool. So the only other thing that I wanted to just like run through was the eternal question before we finish up, which is we did talk about this a little bit like after the cast, so I thought we'd do like a bit more officially, which was the when wipe. When wipe. We'll just leave it to the end because why not? And I do feel that like after our discussion last time, we kind of came to some sort of stronger conclusions about the way that things might be and the way that I would like to see it at least. But like, what do you think? When do you think the Tarkov wipes going to be? What are we in now? Month 5 are we? Is this month 5? 5 months in?
I guess so.
Note. I'm going to see when the actual wipe was previously, just so we know the precise number. So this patch was.
Say pull up Battle Buddy and assuming it's still
Battle
updated.
Buddy is a good idea. That is not right, is it? Oh yeah. So it was the. I'm actually missing one. I somehow managed to miss out the patch 13 wipe on here. What does Battle Buddy say? It was like
I had to find my phone. I don't know.
Well, anyway, I'm pretty sure it's 5 months.
Yeah, I mean, I could look at the YouTube.
Where it gets complicated is the roadmap, and this is why we were looking at it last time, right? So there's 4 points on the roadmap. The 13.05 technical update, which we had already with the flashlights. Then you've got the transition to Unity 2021, which doesn't have a patch number associated with it.
Right.
Then you've got the technical update itself, which is the big one about like desync and other optimization things. And then you have the content patch, which is patch 14. So we've still got 3 things left. We've got on this roadmap, we've got the transition to Unity 2021, the desync patch, and the content update. Now, exactly where those things go is really up for discussion, and nobody knows what's going to happen. My take, I may as well put this out there. Like after thinking about it a few times, going through the various options, the thing that I feel, especially given the timing, is the most sensible. Whether this will be what happens or not is remains to be seen. But what I feel that would be the most sensible would be we maybe have like a week or 2 more of this particular wipe. We do transition to Unity 2021 in the current wipe without doing anything else. because the transition itself, like all it's going to do is introduce bugs and stuff, right? We're not expecting anything crazy. It says like, include support for this, reduces memory consumption and blah, 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 but it shouldn't change the fundamental game. And when the player base is a little bit lower and lots of people are like, they're still just like doing the end game stuff and people aren't playing like quite as hardcore, it makes sense to do that then, I think, like now, to try and get those bugs out of the way before you put in anything else for the technical updates, because you want to know what's like Unity 2021 and what's like, the desync patch or whatever, because there's some huge changes coming with that patch. So I feel that would make the most sense to do that first, and then maybe have like a couple of weeks or something with Unity 2021 running, try and fix as many of the bugs as you can with that. It's like the most major stuff. And then I honestly think, because I just can't see the content update coming soon, I just feel that a wipe with the technical update, with the desync patch, with the change in players and bots to 60, network traffic, culling, that would be very similar to patch 12.12.30. Now, I know a lot of people complained about no content in patch 12.12.30. They extended the Lighthouse Island and they changed the rogue behavior, and that was basically it. It was patch 12.12 again. I almost feel like this is patch 13, could be patch 13 again. 13.1 comes with a wipe, with the technical update. Maybe they bring some of the things that they finished from patch 14, or stuff that maybe is not even on the list, in as content for that patch, with just a few things, maybe like a gun or two, and like maybe something else. I don't know. They bring that in there just as like throw us a bone for the next 6 months. And then finally the patch 14 content update comes in the December wipe, once they have the time to work on it. That, to me, sounds the most likely, the most reasonable. It keeps the 6 monthly wipe cycle and sort of fits within everything. Now, if people complain about the technical update coming without any content, they just go cry, right? Like the player base has been asking these guys to fix the other stuff as main priority for ages. So if you care about the content, then just like don't play for wipe and come back when the content patch drops. But I do think it would be, in some ways, if it goes to plan, and if the performance stuff comes through, it means that lots of people will actually be able to play Streets that weren't able to play it at all. So it's almost like we do the Streets wipe again, and now everybody can play rather than just a subset. Lots of people just don't play Streets at all and don't even know the map, because they either they try to play it in the blue screen, they try to play it and it's a slideshow. Like there's still tons of people like that. So having a wipe where not much has changed, but everyone can play Streets now, I don't think will be the end of the world. I really don't, especially if the technical updates come through.
Yeah, that's
properly.
I mean, honestly, the last podcast, I could just do a technical update patch. That'd be great. I mean, like I said, early games my favorite section of segment of Tarkov. So getting a chance to like play Streets again and like it be a better experience on not only just the actual map performance but the game performance as a whole, audio, everything, networking. Yeah, that'd be cool. I'd be down for that.
It would be good.
Interesting thing, I found the official patch notes posted on the 28th of December. Well, on the 28th of this month, June, we're gonna be 6 months in. 6 months in. So I'm just saying.
On the 28th of June, you say?
Yeah, if I did my math right.
Actually, right, because it was the 20th of December, because I just went to go and actually look it up properly. Yes, indeed. So yeah, it was exactly. It was the 28th of December, and so in 2 weeks' time, it will be 6 months.
So I mean, I feel like July is a month to look at. I don't think anything's gonna happen. I wouldn't. I mean, it's always possible, but I don't really think a June wipe's gonna happen. Probably like mid-July would be my guess. But because there's kind of the alternate theory where they don't wipe and they just put out this technical update, and then we get a wipe like some obscure time in the end of this year, whether it's like around Christmas or in the fall or October, something like this. I mean, I don't know if that's an actual reality. Like if that's, I don't know. I mean, I can't really see them doing that, because they tend to really pile on. Like it seems like the winter season's a big deal for them, because they can, they run sales, they do Twitch drops, they usually have the front like the major stuff on the winters, like typically. Like patch 12.12 was in the winter season, which is a pretty big deal gameplay wise. Uh, and I guess yeah, 13 was. I guess Lighthouse came out. I think it came out in the middle. I can't remember, dude. There's too many updates, man.
I
So
know.
I just can't imagine them intentionally want to mess up the schedule. Maybe that's how things end up playing out because of delays and whatnot. We'll see. But I would say July is kind of where my money's at.
Yeah, I think when asked, I'm just like 13th of July. That's my take.
Yeah.
That's the date. That's the date. Source, I made it up. You know? It's a Thursday.
It's a
13's a funny number.
Thursday. Yeah.
So because
Yeah,
that
I
would give
like
us a
that
month
date.
from now. But yeah, we've had like 7-month stuff before. Like if you look back to,
Mm-hmm.
I've now got the list back up. So it was like 12.6 was like 7 months long. 12.9 was 7 months long. 12.11 was 6 months long. 12.12 was only 5.5 months, and then 12.12.30 was 6.5 months. One after that, like this. Well, yeah. So, sorry, 12.12.30 was 6 months exactly. I think I may have like skipped the versions ahead, but yeah. So like historically, the only ones that have been shorter was 12.11, I think, with 5.5 months, and then all the others was very slightly longer. We've like slowly crept from October, May, December, June, and then it's just been December, June for the last like 2 or something.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So yeah, this may just be because I did it really simply and did it divided by 30 or something. But anyway, it's yeah. It would seem weird if they just changed the 6 months thing, like randomly now. But like it's plausible that they just add all this stuff. They add Unity, they do the technical update, and they wipe like September or November or something with the content once they're finished. But I don't know. I'm not sure. I just feel like it would make more sense to do one of those technical wipes where people get to like kind of replay the game again with all of this stuff without, because it would seem like a bit, I don't know, just seem a bit odd to like leave it so long. Like the content might overrun. It might end up being like a full year without wiping. Like at that point,
Yeah.
we're going to be sort of in the barren wasteland, just like crawling along, skeletonized, just like with nothing.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, there's really kind of the only downside really is that you're upsetting the fans, I guess.
Yeah,
That's really the only downside I could see from BSG's perspective, right?
that's it really. But it's also like why not? You know,
Because did they typically do Twitch drops in the mid? Like I know for sure.
It was Christmas. I don't think they did in the middle one.
Have they in the past though?
I'm not sure.
It's
Honestly
hard to
not
say.
sure. I just don't think it would be one of those wipes if they did it that it would be like, oh, we want to hype up. Like I just don't think it would be like that. I feel like it would be one of those ones where it's like we're gonna wipe because people are bored and they want it and they want to play stuff, and like maybe now people get to play Streets for the first time because they can actually play this time. But really, it's a bug fixing patch, and you go through from the start and like fix it again.
Remains to be seen because we might be getting expansion, so it might have added on to the technical debt. But
maybe. I mean, if everything that they say is true, then it should help even with the expansion. So we'll see.
Guys, we fixed the first portion of the map. Now we're going to add this new portion that isn't completely optimized yet. But don't worry. In the next update, we'll fix that and add the third and final portion that is also not.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Cool. Well, so I guess like the next one of this next ScavTalk we're gonna record. This will probably just like be released tomorrow or something. We'll record next Friday with whatever's happened. So we're gonna have another week and a half, little jump before what happens next, and then that will come out like the Monday as normal. We're gonna then presumably run regular servers until probably August when like we get hit with some more holiday stuff. But that's the plan. That's the plan. So your regular programming will resume its weekly schedule from next week.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're just gonna have to see what happens in Tarkov Land. Maybe we'll get a new Chronicles. Maybe we'll get a surprise wipe. Who knows? Not sure.
Yeah.
Not sure. We will see.
All right. Well, I think we're gonna close it there. as always, thank you everyone for tuning in. And with that, we will catch you next week.
Bye bye.